Update on Tropical Storm Debby, which now is Tropical Depression Debby. Chief Meteorologist Tim Buckley with you. We're going to chat here for a little bit about what the storm has done across our area, what it still has yet to do, and when you can kind of rest easy. I'm really pretty sure we're in good shape at this point, but it has been a tough day, not just for us, but really for most of North Carolina. Take a look at this loop here. This satellite shows the storm coming ashore earlier today in South Carolina. Now the center is all the way close to our Piedmont Triad area, and it brought so much weather throughout the day, from the really gusty winds of this morning, the nonstop torrential rainfall. You might remember how it was in the morning, where it basically rained all the time from around 2 a.m. through about 10 a.m. That was pretty intense for a while. Now we've started to see more just on again, off again rainfall. It's not constant any longer, and in fact, as we go through the rest of the night, it should actually be pretty light. So where we go from here, what's left with Debby, just some on again, off again rainfall for this evening, really through about midnight and probably through about 2 to 3 a.m. or so. Then it'll come to an end. Friday starts a drying trend, and we should be quite a bit drier for tomorrow. Here's the caveat. Flooding is still going to be an issue near the rivers. So you think about how this works when it comes to flash flooding. We often see the rivers rise last. The creeks and streams, those smaller ones, rise very quickly at first, and then they flow into the larger rivers. So it takes a little while for all of that water to get where it's going, but those bigger rivers like the Dan River, the Haw River, the Yadkin River in our area, well, they all take a little while to get to their peak reach, and that will be for tomorrow and even Saturday for some of those. Watch out for those trouble spots. Winds are weakening, but still be alert. There could be a couple down trees that are yet to happen across the area. If they've been weakened, if they're in a damaged state, they could come down with even just a low gust of wind for tomorrow. Here's the latest on the storm. The storm center is really pivoting through Davidson County at the 9 o'clock hour. It's about to roll right into our Triad area. You will not notice the center of the storm. There's nothing to notice at this point. It's weakened quite a bit, and we are basically just going to see some on again, off again rain. The winds will not get gusty at this point. We're pretty much done with all of that kind of weather. We had some tornado warnings earlier today from Caswell County to Rockingham County. It was pretty dicey for a while. We are seeing that improve. Now the rainfall, that's starting to move off to the west as well, pushing over into Surrey County, parts of the foothills. You're still dealing with some steadier rain, but I can tell you, even in the Triad, we're still dealing with some mist and some drizzle on what was a really wet day. It's nice to have it a little bit on the less intense side. This is the position from Debby as of 5 o'clock, so they need to update this closer to 11 o'clock. We'll get the new position, but it should be right over the Greensboro area once we get to 11 o'clock this evening. It's moving north-northwest at 10 miles per hour. It might not sound that fast, but consider yesterday it was only chugging along at about 3 miles per hour. So it has tripled its speed in a short period of time. From here, it has an interesting path. It's going to basically ride I-81 all the way through Virginia, West Virginia, Maryland, Pennsylvania, New York State, and then all the way up into New England. And it's going to continue to create problems. A lot of flooding is possible for our neighbors up to the north, and as it goes through Vermont all the way up into maritime Canada, they're going to have a lot of rainfall from this system because it's kind of merging with a cold front as well, and that always makes for a bit of a tough go. Wind gusts of 40 to 50 miles per hour. They happened earlier this morning. Maybe it woke you up or at least kind of unsettled you a little bit in the morning. This is what downed a lot of those trees, created those power outages, which honestly were pretty hard to imagine at one point. We had about 130,000 across the state without power at one point in North Carolina. That number has gone down throughout the day. So crews have been hard at work, and with the wind subsiding and getting a little bit less, they've had a good chance to restore power to most people. Ignore a lot of these numbers like that one and this one and that one, but most of us in the 3 to 4 inch range today. That is a lot of rain in a single day. Think about it. You get about 3 to 4 inches of rain in a month, usually. Well, today, that happened in a single afternoon. Pretty impressive to see that. 3, 4, 5 inch totals estimated by radar as well. That doesn't happen all the time, especially without even a summer thunderstorm. Sometimes you can do it with that, but with a tropical system, that is pretty impressive, especially with it just being 1 day only. Wanted to compare it to some recent storms that might be in your memory, pretty common. Hurricane Florence, Hurricane Michael, where do they stack up? Well, here's today, as of 9 o'clock in Greensboro. We're closing in on 4 inches. We might not get there. It might stay just shy of 4 inches for the day. Well, Michael, back in 2018, had 4.13 inches of rain. Florence has a several-day rainfall, but for the wettest day with Hurricane Florence, it was 4.6 inches on September 16th. Pretty impressive that we're in the neighborhood of all of those storms. And it was kind of amazing to see it too on the flood map earlier today. Those rivers and creeks and streams just kind of swelling, going up and down from time to time. We'll play it one more time so you can see that. That's Buffalo Creek by Interstate 40, Merritt Drive over there as well. On again, off again with those downpours, really making those rivers and creeks swell. We talked about it briefly at the beginning, but you remember how all of those little creeks and streams lead into the bigger rivers. Here are the forecasts for when they would peak. It's called a crest. So when would the river crests happen? We'll start with the Dan River. This is up at Danville, expected to be in moderate flood stage, which is outside of the banks up there along the Dan River in the city. Friday at 2 in the afternoon is when it's expected to peak at moderate flood stage. Not as bad out toward the foothills, a little bit less rain over that way. So the Yadkin River is forecast to be at minor flood stage, and that would be actually as late as Saturday morning, 2 a.m. when that's happening. Here's the big one though. The Haw River is forecast to be at major flood status. I was chatting to somebody earlier today over in the Haw River area, and they said they haven't seen it quite this high in their memory. And they've been there about 30 years or so. This is a big deal. That's expected to be at major status at 2 a.m. Friday morning. So we're talking about really in the next several hours, the Haw River is going to swell and overflow its banks. That's the forecast and that's the expectation. So why would that be happening? Well, most of the rain is already fallen. We're only seeing some lingering showers through the rest of the night. This is around 1 to 2 a.m. This is closer to 3 and 4 a.m. and you'll notice most of the rain is done here. This is as we go into early Friday morning. Most of it is quieting down, the sunshine is coming out, and temperatures will start to warm up. It'll actually be a hot day of weather tomorrow into the mid 80s, but it will not have a lot of rain. And really, we're not going to see much more of it either. Maybe just a quarter to a half an inch of rain would be possible for the rest of our storm system. Most of it is done. We still have our News 2 Weather Impact Alert Day. That's for today and also lasts into early tomorrow morning. Why do we keep it around? Well, those rivers rising are really a big problem. We have folks that might actually have to leave their homes. This is something to consider for tomorrow. Be careful around any rivers and just be careful in general with cleanup efforts, picking up stuff in the yard. You're not quite sure what might be falling around. Make sure to be cautious of that. But by the end of the day, afternoon, sun shines out, everything's fine. We should be in good shape. But just want to make sure you're still in storm mode for tomorrow morning. We talk about where the storm is going and why it's going. There's a system that's accelerating it up the East Coast. It's partly due to this cold front right here on the map. It shoots it up the coast and toward New England as we go into Friday evening. So you can see our weather has totally changed by that point, and we have some sunshine breaking out for Friday. Now for the weekend itself, high pressure is over here. It's going to get a little closer to us, but that front does kind of stall out. So we're still going to be in summer mode. If you were to take a nice drive over to the Midwest, they're going to have an early preview of some fall-like air. Not quite making it here, even though that might sound nice. For the weekend here, we'll have a high temperature right around 87 for Saturday. I expect it to be pretty dry, not really a chance for rain on Saturday afternoon. For Sunday, we're starting the morning in the upper 60s, and then we're up into the mid 80s for the afternoon with a low chance of a shower or storm. So that's the weekend here in the Triad. We talk about the storm system kind of moving behind or moving away pretty quickly. Is there a chance for rain next week? Well, we could still see a pop-up shower or storm here or there, but nothing like what we just dealt with all the flooding rains of Debby. Let's talk about the 7-day forecast. As of right now, we'll keep it in the mid to upper 80s for Friday into Saturday. Morning lows will still be muggy, right around 70 degrees. But overall, there's a pretty big lack of heat. Going into tomorrow, mid 80s most afternoons, upper 60s for overnight lows. We are not expected to be sweltering, but it will still be summer. Low chances of a pop-up shower here or there. As we say goodbye to Tropical Depression Debby, make sure to tune in tonight at 11 o'clock on WFMY. We're going to have reports from all of our reporters across the Triad area to show you some of the damage that happened across the region for today.